Hello everyone, watch this review here with a look at Bane, the Collect and Connect from DC Universe Classics Wave 16. Now, I've never really been the biggest Bane fan or whatever. In fact, I didn't really care for the character all that much, but at the same time, it's hard to not acknowledge that he's sort of a really neat Batman rogue and, does kind of play a role in the whole mythos and everything. So when the wave was coming out, it's like, do I buy the whole thing to get Bane? And ultimately, yes, I decided I would, especially because it's sort of a Batman-themed wave. Now, as always, the Collect and Connect never comes with a bio or stat card, so those of you not familiar with the character, let me just give you a quick run-through of his backstory. Bane was first introduced during the whole Nightfall, Night Quest story arc. The character itself, or himself, was basically started off as a boy who was imprisoned for the crimes of his supposed father. He's in whatever South American country that's kind of a tradition or whatever, so he was sort of stuck serving a maximum security sentence or whatever. And while imprisoned, he went about improving both his body and mind, conditioning it to sort of peak levels of fitness. I read the novelization rather than the actual comics, so it might be a little bit different. But during the process there, eventually he got into a drug testing program where, they were testing a new chemical called Venom, no relation to the symbiote Marvel fame, on the inmates. Describe Venom, it's basically like giving steroids to steroids. So you get somebody with very, very extreme roid rage and roid muscle, and this is his little Venom dispenser. Supposedly the character doesn't really use it too much anymore. Like at one point I think he swore off it, but he just keeps wearing the thing for some reason, and it doesn't really explain why it's just so huge compared to everybody else. The Collect and Connect is about 8 inches tall, so he does kind of tower over a lot of the other figures. The Collect and Connects should always be quite a bit bigger. I'm just wondering if this is probably a little bit too big for Bane, although some appearances he does kind of hulk out to being really huge. I mean, if you played Arkham Asylum, granted he was really big in that one as well, but he had a lot more muscle going on. Now, one of the things I should just quickly point out is his little Venom dispenser, which is permanently affixed to the arm here, pipes into the back of the neck, so you could actually pose him with it being like torn out or whatever, which was a scenario that popped up several times in both the cartoons, comics, and everything, which makes for an interesting posability, but I was really more trying to call attention to the fact that it's permanently fixed to its place in the arm, which isn't a good place to stick it, because no matter how you sort of position him, it's always going to be like this. So you'll have the hand sort of facing this way and then still facing out, and that just strikes me as being a bit awkward depending on how you want to pose the figure. Now, also, I previously commented that I thought the arms looked a little bit small compared to the legs. And on the full body, I didn't think the effect was as bad, but just looking at him does kind of bother me. Oh, by the way, I should just also point out the fact that at 8 inches he's kind of in scale with Mattel's wrestling figures. A little bit taller than a lot of them, in fact, so you could actually pose him in the ring and everything if you wanted to, and he does look like a wrestler. One of the big sort of missed potentials with the whole Bane and everything here is they really should have done like alternate parts. Like there's a variant Robin. If they did one other variant in the wave, they could have given like him a alternate set of arms, so you could have the normal arms, then you could have his really buffed out arms, and that would have been so cool. Frankly, I think that there's just not enough muscle here for the character. I mean, granted, this is more of like a humanish appearance than the sort of crazy, massive muscles. But I mean, this is a character that, you just really associate with the huge muscle mass regardless, though. In terms of detail, you'll notice that you get a lot of paint work on the fleshy portions, and then it's just more of a solid black for the rest of the outfit with the glossier black of the boots here. The belt and stuff has like the usual etching and stuff, but I mean there's just sort of a lack of color. Granted, it's not much of an issue. The articulation is pretty solid. Just a quick run through here. The lower body actually is probably the most impressive. As with some of the other ones, you do have a bit of foot pivot in the left foot. They tend to only do it in one foot for some reason. I don't know if it's just to avoid wear over time or anything. But I mean, you kind of get the effect that you're going for. But in addition to that, like some of the other collecting connects, actually you have a point of rotation at the boot. Then you have the additional point of rotation at the thigh, so if you wanted to do something a bit different, you could. Other than that, you have the single point at the knee, the usual out forward on the leg, the ab crunch, which can be slightly impeded by the vest and stuff, or I guess suspenders, which can also kind of stretch over time. Ball jointed shoulder, usual pivot with the bicep, the point here at the elbow, then rotation at the wrist, and then, like several of the others, the head has the usual forward, back, up, down, and then because it's positioned on, I don't know if I can take this off, I want to try that, but it can actually sort of move forward and back a little bit as well. Giggity. Which is pretty neat. The one other sort of big thing that I want to point out, the fact that he really would have benefited from, say, having an alternate pair of hands that you could exchange, because with the closed fist, he can't actually grip other characters, and a guy like this, besides punching people, is something of a brawler, and it would allow you to replicate one of the most iconic poses where he actually breaks Batman's back. As it is, it's kind of hard to really position the two figures properly. One part it's just the fact that he's got the cape and everything, because it's just closed fists and stuff. And it would be neat if he had an open one with, say, adjustable plastic or anything that could kind of stretch around like a character's leg and stuff. I mean, somebody like Bane, you could just really see tossing people around and everything. Which, again, would be so incredibly awesome. Other than, the few sort of minor gripes I mentioned, he is a pretty spectacular figure, and, he just looks pretty awesome to pose just beating on somebody else. Just punching Batman in the face or whatever here. It's just sort of a really nice figure all around, kind of, and just does kind of lend itself to very actiony poses because he is quite the bruiser, brawler, whatever, tank, tough guy. You name it, he's it. He's also supposedly a genius, so he's got that going on. I don't know, that's partially one of the reasons I never really liked the character either, because he's just so many different things. But he was voiced by Danny Trejo in the Young Justice appearance, and it's very hard to hate any character voiced by Danny Trejo because, that's just one awesome dude. But yeah, this has been a look at the Bane, the Collecting Connect from DC Universe Classics Wave 16. I do like this one. It's one of my favorites for the collecting connects, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, until next time, folks.